Hey folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Oh, back again, and today, I thought I'd get a little wild in the collection. Talk a little bit about 5 Canadian artists that should really be in your collection, and as a matter of fact, tend to come relatively inexpensively if you are buying used records, which is the best way to go. Grab yourself a Tim Hortons coffee, back bacon, and of course, some Canadian maple syrup, and you're gonna need to buckle up. And we're back. So just thought I'd do a quick video on 5 Canadian artists that you should have. I unfortunately do not have a lot of records by Canadian artists. I grew up kind of listening to a lot of like Canadian content in the 80s and 90s, and it wasn't my favorite. Gotta be real. But there definitely are some classic artists from Canada, including, obviously, I'm not going to say a ton about Neil Young, but certainly after the gold rush from 1970, one of his better albums. I think basically anything in his first decade of LPs, or even the LP decade, which I think is it's at least a double disc. I'm not sure if you can get that on LP. You probably can. But that whole era, everything from basically 69 to about 80, and then this one is obviously from 79 as well. Another Neil Young classic. I think basically anything in that period you can get from Neil Young. It's not going to be as cheap as you might think. But you know what? It's fantastic stuff, and certainly that's the thing about Neil Young. If you really like Neil Young, again, there are like people who are like, oh yeah, I like Neil Young, and then there are people like, oh, I like Neil Young. Those people, hey, the guy's still making records. You can still buy those. He's even releasing a lot of records from the 70s, which is kind of interesting. Ones that he was like, no, not good enough. They're good enough for him now. So again, Neil Young, one of my 5 Canadian artists that you definitely should have in your collection. Nice gatefold on this one. This one, I've had this one for many years. Really good album. In fact, I kind of overplayed this one, and I don't love it as much as I used to, but a classic from 70. The Guess Who from my old hometown, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's right. The Guess Who. This is Share the Land from 1970. Actually their most popular album. Really good album. Is it an absolute cover-to-cover classic? Not necessarily. I think there's a couple of weak tracks on side B, but you know what? This is a really fantastic album. Obviously, the title track is a classic. I think it went to number 11 in the States. If you're actually from Canada, I think pretty much everything they released at around this time was going to number 1 in Canada. But Share the Land, again, this album was, I think, top 15 in the States. And also, again, this is a really good album, I will say. This is one album after Randy Bachman, who, of course, would move on to BTO. Obviously, I do not have any BTO albums. Never was the hugest fan. But the Guess Who, really great stuff. This is the album after he left. They bring in a new guitarist. And yeah, like I say, unfortunately, this was kind of like their last really big album. The final singles on this kind of ended a period where basically the Guess Who could release almost anything into the States and it would go top 10 or top 20. So this was kind of a somewhat of an end to that era of their career. Obviously, this one's kind of a fun one. Artificial Paradise. Obviously, the packaging on this is random. It's kind of trying to be like a publisher's clearinghouse kind of a vibe here. A very odd record, but when I saw it, and when I saw on the cover, it was like the Guess Who return address, the Guess Who Winnipeg, Manitoba. I was like, oh, I gotta get that. So I would say pretty much anything in the Guess Who catalog between, I would say, 68 and 75, you can probably get with. But to be fair, I would say there's this one. I also have an album called Rockin', which I think is probably from 72. That one's good. After that, I think it's kind of diminishing returns when it comes to the Guess Who. But again, really great band, very underrated, and actually certainly some of that late 60s period stuff. Some of it, this of course is from 70, some of it on here you may recognize because again, there was a period where the Guess Who could release almost anything into the States. Obviously that would be the American Woman period, and that song obviously I believe went to #1 as well. So anyway, the Guess Who, you should have it in your collection. And again, like, subscribe. The liking, it helps a lot. Other people get to see the video. Subscribing, I mean, also good. That means you get to see Craig Danger whenever he releases a high quality video. All you gotta do is click on the bell, make sure all is noted, and you're good to go. But since I got you, why not in the comments let me know what Canadian band you particularly think should be in everyone's collection. Obviously, I'm going to be missing a lot of eras in this video. I'd be interested to see if there are any really kind of nuggets or sort of obscure bands that maybe even I don't really know. So please put them in the comments. Always love the discussion on this channel. Oh yeah, well, and of course, we want to talk classic artists. We got to talk actually one of the, I think, the best albums of all time. Joan Mitchell, Blue. Obviously really classic. This is from, I think this is from 70, 71. Really, really great album. This album is kind of a must-have for, I think, anyone. Certainly very folky. Great arrangements on this, a lot of piano. Very sort of, for me, you know, as a Canadian who is living in the United States, there's a few songs that just kind of really kind of stir the old emotional pot. As you think about the nation to the north. So yeah, this is obviously a classic one. I've had this for many, many years. This one I think would be a little bit expensive if you're looking for that. But you want to talk about cheap, how about 74's Court and Spark here, which is like, no gatefold on this dog? Oh yeah, we got a gatefold, That's the cool thing about Joan Mitchell's records too, is they're almost all gatefold too. And then of course, another one, Clouds. This one I think from 69. With again another cool gatefold featuring the lyrics as well. So yeah, that's the thing about Joni is that I would say outside of Blue, almost everything is cheap. In fact, Court and Spark, for some reason, I picked this up. I mean, it got some weird paper sort of business on the back, but you know what? I picked this up for 99 cents. Which was kind of a mind blower. This one I probably picked up for about $5 too. Joni's work is not very expensive, but I would say anything from like about 68 to 77, 78. She does start to get a little jazzier later on, and I'm not necessarily, I guess, into that era, but I think certainly her initial period of success, including Blue, Court and Spark, there's quite a few albums in that era where she even had a couple of hits on the radio and stuff. I think any of this stuff is available relatively cheap. And again, she's kind of one of the Canadian legends. I think the woman is still alive and still jamming. I think she just did a concert not too long ago for the first time in like, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. Anyway, Joni Mitchell, kind of one of the four mothers. That's not a thing, but one of the kind of foundational players in the Canadian music scene, along obviously with Neil Young and the Guess Who. So Joni Mitchell, definitely one to seek out. And again, they're not all that expensive. Obviously one of my favorites, Lightfoot, Gordon Lightfoot. This is from 66. There are two eras of Gordon Lightfoot, singer-songwriter. I believe a singer-songwriter that Bob Dylan once called his favorite singer-songwriter, which is like, wow. Or his favorite songwriter. It was one of the two. But you know what? Lightfoot, especially on, I always push the United Artists era because I think it's very underrated. This is before Gord got really kind of popular as a solo artist. He was writing songs though that were being covered by a lot of folk acts, etc. So this album is kind of my go-to. But then 74 Sundown, this is sort of a comeback era for him. Sundown obviously was a huge hit in Canada and the United States. And yeah, another Gordon Lightfoot records are available usually pretty cheap. If you're in Canada, even cheaper. But you know what? A lot of these albums are really good. I would go up to about 75 with Gord. But again, and you know, not all of the United Artists stuff is good, but this one is just, in my opinion, legendary. One of the best albums. In fact, it's one of my favorite albums, this one. I think I said before, basically I was listening to this one, the first side of it, and I was like, oh, listen to all these like folk classics that he's covering. Here's the thing. He wrote those songs, and it's just like, oh, wow. So, yeah, this is sort of before he's popular. This is sort of after, but both are great. There's a great compilation called Gord's Gold that sort of compiles a lot of the singles, and definitely worth a pickup as well. That one is also cheap. So Gordon Lightfoot, of course, that would be my fourth artist, and we're going around with number 5. This is kind of a mixed one because it's kind of a hybrid, but I got to go with John Kay. This is a record that I am always prone to big up. John Kay, Forgotten Songs and Unsung Heroes from '72, and then of course his second solo album, My Sportin' Life, from '73. Both really good. Both, how do we know John Kay? Well, John Kay, obviously, lead singer of who? How about Steppenwolf? And Steppenwolf, I guess, kind of counts, much as, of course, the band counts as a Canadian-American band. Although I believe that most of the players in Steppenwolf, like the band, were Canadian, and there was probably like a member or two, like the band, that was in Steppenwolf. So I would say also anything Steppenwolf should be in your collection. But I would say, really, it's the records that are easiest to get. So you're talking about this 68 Steppenwolf, which is great. But anything up until basically about 72, which is, of course, when John Kay would go solo. But I'm going to say, because John Kay is Canadian, German-Canadian, actually, but I think spent most of his youth in Canada. You know what? Ooh, John Kay, this album I think is absolutely legendary, and not a lot of people know about it. If you do see this one, it's definitely worth a pickup. It's not Steppenwolf rocky. It's a little bit more bluesy in places, but oh, that voice, John Kay. And this one's a little bit more of a rocky, closer to Steppenwolf, but not exactly the same. And then, of course, you know, if we're talking Steppenwolf, I also have another one here, Monster, from, I believe this is from '69. All really good. Like I say, everything in that first eight or nine albums from Steppenwolf, all kind of classics. So, yeah, I'm just going to do a short one today, but I thought I'd break out a little bit of Canadianity here, which is what I did. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Are there any Canadian artists that you can say that you've picked up some records from? I would say particularly those of an older era. Anything in a newer era, you know, even the used records would be going for $30. Hey, so yeah, thank you for tuning in and appreciate obviously every one of my viewers. Like I say, I did take a bit of a hiatus there for a little bit, and then we'll be back over the summer months. And, Craig Danger will continue to Craig Danger. I guess. So, again, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.